Our group is Please Compile, and we have an important problem of study. In a hybrid synchronous environment, it becomes difficult for the instructor to check how well students are interpreting material. This can cause the teacher to falsely believe that information presented to students has been fully comprehended. Because of the hybrid model of learning, it is tough to keep track of the progress of students who are learning from home, as well as those who are attending in-person classes. A simple solution exists for this problem. A question or a quiz overlay or plugin could be built into Zoom or another program that teachers are already using to teach remotely. This would provide more interactivity during lectures and class time. Having questions for students to answer throughout the class can keep them more engaged, and the students could be anonymous or chosen directly by the teacher. Compared to other solutions, this is much more convenient than outside resources and also offers instant feedback to the teacher. While it offers instant feedback, it is not as personalized as one-on-one time with a teacher, such as with office hours. Low participation can also be an indicator to the teacher that something may need to be changed in the ways that the teacher teaches.
When we originally proposed our solution, we wanted it to be a question/quiz overlay or plugin that could be built into Zoom or another program that teachers are already using to teach remotely. We wanted it to provide interactivity during lectures and class time, allowing students to stay more engaged and teachers to know if students are correctly learning the material. We wanted it to not require students or teachers to find more time outside of class to see if they are properly understanding the lecture materials, and not require a third-party form of communication to do so. We all wanted it to be built into one application. With these design principles in mind, we came up with multiple mock-ups to this solution. Here we can see Ben's solution, or Ben's mock-up, which incorporated a Zoom chat feature in the center, or a Zoom call feature in the center with a chat on the right and tabs on the left to select which class to view. We also have on Ben's mockup a grades feature where students can view how they did on past assignments and how teachers can also review past assignments to see how the class is learning. Similarly to Ben's design, we have Andreas' design, which incorporates a Zoom call with a chat feature and tabs on the left to switch classes. Different about Andreas' design is that on the right, there's a schedule tab where you can see what class is currently occurring and what classes come up next or have already occurred. We also have in Andreas' design a new Messages tab, which features a messaging system similar to Outlook's, where teachers and students can communicate outside of class time. We also have an Assignments tab and Grades tabs so that students can complete assignments and then review how they did. This is an example of a pop-up quiz that the teacher could assign during the Zoom call, which would appear above the Zoom call and allow teachers to track during class time if students are understanding the material. Sahil also came up with a similar design in terms of allowing students to be asked questions by the teacher during class time and teachers to quickly see the results. This is true as well for Flavio's design, having questions and answers be proposed to the students by teachers during class time. Desmond also has a similar way of addressing our problem, and as you can see here, has a more complicated view at how students did on each question from the teacher's view. We decided to go with Andreas' design as it looked the most high fidelity, but we also incorporated other design or other elements from other group members' mock-ups into Andreas' mock-up to make our prototype. So here we have the final prototype, which incorporates a Zoom call and chat feature, as well as choosing different class tabs from the left. You can see your schedule on the right here, but new in the prototype versus Andreas' initial mockup is the addition of an unmute feature and a show video feature in case students need to show visual aid to explain their problem. You can also type something into the chat and send it as a chat, or send private chats in case you don't want the other students to see what question you were asking. The Messages tab made it into the prototype and still looks similar to how Outlook does, so that students can now communicate with teachers outside of class time. The Assignments tab is very similar to Andreas' initial mock-up, allowing assigned assignments to appear on the left and a more detailed view to appear on the right. The Grades tab is also similar to Andreas' original mock-up. However, now the teacher has a unique grade view. This is the student view, but we can quickly look at the teacher's view, where it will say the average score of the students, as well as have a quick overview button, which will display how students answered on each question, allowing teachers to go over material again if students did not do well on a particular question. So as you can see, multiple ideas from our mockups made into our final prototype and developed into one complete application that has features of Zoom, features of Outlook, and new assignment features so that teachers can fully know if their students are tracking when they are teaching.
Our testing protocol consists of studying and interviewing classrooms using our application, as well as using control groups to see any differences between the applications that they usually use for remote learning and our new solution. Throughout our study, we would anonymously collect grades from classrooms and compare those classrooms using our application to the classrooms using their usual setup, the control groups. Also, we would conduct a similar experiment by having the same classroom use their usual setup for a semester, and then the next semester switch to our application. So they would have the same students, the same teacher, the only difference would be the application used for the remote learning. This way we could see if that same group of students showed any improvement, with the only difference being the application used for remote learning. We would also conduct interviews at set intervals throughout the semester with the teacher, as well as with a small group of randomly selected students from both the control classrooms and the experiment classrooms. The interviews would consist of a few questions to gauge overall satisfaction on how the class was going and if the remote learning aspects could be improved in any way. After all this data was gathered from both the instructor and the students, we could compare to see if the classrooms using our solution had better grades and higher satisfaction than the control groups who are using their usual setups. The main goal of our application is to help students and teachers improve their experience during remote learning. And we would do this by giving easier access to communication, both between students, allowing them to communicate more freely to each other, as well as between the instructor and the students, giving the students a more direct line of communication with the instructor. And we would also like to provide students with more transparent access to grade-related information. Having all of this in one application, we feel, is the best solution to this problem, as well as giving them access to review materials right there in that same application. The way we would measure success in our experiment is through improvement in the students' grades who use the application, as well as through the interview answers by showing that there was less frustration on behalf of both students and instructors, and also increased communication between students and instructors.
Our team really found this project to be a rewarding experience as we learned so many aspects of what human-computer interaction entails while seeing it through to its completion. We understood that our solutions don't necessarily strive for consistency, as they use many different platforms and methods of communication to try to achieve the same goal. Informative feedback, however, can let students know if they're not doing as well as they had hoped in class, and it can let teachers know if they need to spend time and emphasize a particular topic that was discussed during lecture and not very well received by the students. As a team, we delved into the great functionality of Adobe XD to create wireframes and establish the prototype. It was efficient to have each of us create a wireframe and select the most optimized design as the high-fidelity mockup. With this method, we were also able to pick out some of the best aspects of our wireframes to create a high-fidelity mockup that we felt was substantial for our requirements. The weekly meetings on Discord also helped coordinate our concerns for the project and divide the work, which is very much necessary for the good old-fashioned
In
divide and
addition,
conquer.
doing our project throughout the semester was definitely helpful. It allowed us to use the information we were being taught immediately, from learning about the 7 stages of action and then being able to apply it into our own project. We were able to further master material being taught in the class. Even small ideas, such as user stories, were incorporated and played a major role into our final product. We appreciate how our project was broken down into manageable sections throughout the semester. We believe that this allowed us to give our best work in each section without feeling the need to rush and compromise our understanding of our project. We enjoyed seeing our project develop from a small number of ideas into a substantial product that demonstrates all that we have learned from human-computer interactions.